Okay, greetings everybody, greetings. This video is just gonna be me talking about culture notes, especially like Visayan culture notes, or I guess specifically Cebuano Visayan culture notes, because Visayan is like it's a big umbrella of other ethno-linguistic Visayan speaking people, not just the Cebuano speaking people. But you've also got your Tausug who are Visayan speakers, Hiligaynons who are Visayan speakers as well, and so forth, right? Anyway, this video gave me I got the idea of making this video because as I was going on with the language videos, the Cebuano ones, it came to my attention that culture is an inseparable part of language. When you speak a language, a culture comes to life. So I decided to, why not introduce you to some cultural aspects. Those of you who are probably watching this video already know a lot of the cultural aspects, of being Filipinos and stuff like that, right? But for those who don't, here are just a few that I want to talk about. So culture notes, right? And again, when you speak a language, the culture that's embedded in that language comes to life. Okay, that's I guess one of the key important things that people need to understand. The first note I have are facial expressions and the tone of voice for emphasis, right? Cebuano speakers, I guess other Philippine language speakers do it too, but Cebuano speakers do emphasize their facial expressions, and with that, they also change their tone of voice depending on how they want to emphasize whatever they're talking about. So you'll see this a lot with Cebuano speakers. And if you haven't already noticed it, well, check it out. Just talk to somebody who speaks Cebuano, and they have these exaggerated, so to speak, expressions that show emphasis, or show interest in, or show the expression and the mood they want to convey to their conversation, right? The next one I want to talk about are the pointing the lips, the face, nose, eyes, cheeks, and what have you. This one is really, media, and you can see it even on YouTube videos out there floating, but this one has been exaggerated a lot. Um, Again, a lot of Filipinos point with their lips, so to speak. It's a stereotype, but it's also become a part of a culture, a cultural norm for us. I don't think I point with my lips, but I know I definitely point with my face and my nose and my I guess, yeah, my face and my nose predominantly. Some people point with their eyes. Some people point with their cheeks. You can just take a look at what they do and where they're pointing at, especially on the sides when they point. But I definitely know that I point with my face and nose. My mom actually points with her lips. Now that I think about it. After that, we have the greetings, the greeting and the greeting mannerisms, right? So when we Filipinos meet each other for the first time, or when we see each other, even if we know you or not, let's say you're at a party or a gathering, and you want to greet your aunties and uncles and the other adults out there, right? We have a concept called beso beso. And beso beso is it's actually it's Spanish for kiss kiss, right? Beso means kiss in Spanish, and it's pretty much when let's say that I go to a one of these Filipino fiestas, right, and I see my mom's family, my mom's friends there, and they're females, and I guess the concept of the tita, if you will, like if I see a tita or a tito, masculine, right, I would give them a kiss on the cheek. So a beso beso is like a cheek kiss, right? A cheek kiss. It can be on both sides, both cheeks, right? And it's just really casual, really informal. Um, I prefer both sides of the cheek. So when I see someone, I kiss them on both sides of the cheek, like on one side, and then I kiss them on the other. Most Filipinos nowadays, most of them nowadays just kiss on one side of the cheek. I think that's because it's an American influence, or just a culture change of some sort, or I have no idea why, but beso beso is a double cheek, side to side cheek kiss. And then even my little cousins and the little kids even do that to me because I'm at an age where I am considered a tito, or an uncle, so to speak, right? An uncle. Now, the concept of the tito and tita, like, a lot of people, even though we don't know these older men and women in these gatherings and social events, we still have to call them tito or tita. Um, Now, it depends on some people, like especially with me, because I think I'm a little bit of an exception. If they are closer to me, especially within my family, I call them tío or tía. Okay, so if I have a closer relationship with them or feel closer to them, I would call them tía or tío. And this is just me, this whole tía tío thing is probably dying down in other Filipino cultures or among other Filipinos, but tía and tío is definitely a concept that's alive in my family. My mom calls her aunties tía, she never calls them tita. I call my aunties tía who are close to me, but the ones that I don't really like or don't really care for, I call them tito or tita. Again, it's gonna vary to people. And also, if they hold a title, definitely if they hold a title, for example, if I'm at a party or a gathering and I see some landowners or businessmen, or wealthy. I guess they don't have to be wealthy. They're just successful people. I would call them don or señor. Like, oh, señor. And especially if there's a cute lady. If there is um a young adult, a young female adult, and she's really pretty, you can refer to her as señorita, or something like that, right? Some sort of diminutive, if you will. But if there's also a guy like that, like me, I like to be called señorito, it's fine, or dodong if that's fine too. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Moving on, mano is another concept, right? And mano is simply taking the hand of an elder. If this is an elder that you can't have the relationship of a beso beso, then you have to elevate it to a little higher or a little more formal level of a mano. And mano is Spanish for hand, okay? It's Spanish for hand. La mano, it's a feminine noun, but it got borrowed into Cebuano to refer to the hand. But this concept has origins of pre-Hispanic times where the youngsters would take the hands of their elders and they would take their hands and just kind of bless, if you will, take it and have it nod in their forehead, I guess. Like take the back side of their hand, not the palm side, but the opposite side of the palm, and touch it to their forehead and just kind of kneel and bow down. And when you do that, you say mano, or you can say amen, or like amen or something like that. Amen. I actually used to do that when I was a little kid to my grandmother. I would come home from school and I would see her and I would see my grandfather, which my grandmother I actually refer to as abuelita, which is, yeah, but that's another thing. And I would see my grandparents and then I would just come home from school and I would just take their hand and I would just bless it and I'd say mano or amin, or they would say amin, whatever. But as I grew older, I started doing a beso beso to them. I'd give them a kiss. And down here I put XOXO because Filipinos are really, I guess I shouldn't say Filipinos, Visayan people, there you go. Because I can't speak for other Filipinos who are non-Visaya, like who are non-Visayan Filipinos. I can't speak for them, but I know that Visayan people in general, Cebuano speakers, so to speak, okay, they are very touchy people, okay? We are very touchy people. That's why we love to kiss and hug, okay? Kissing and hugging is so ingrained in our culture. It's so ingrained in our psychology, in our mentality. It's in our psyche that, everyone is just so lovey-dovey and close with each other. You are a friend, you are a family. Everyone has this concept of being close to each other, right? Again, I can't speak for non-Visayan Filipinos, but I know Cebuano-speaking Filipinos, I can speak for them, okay? If you're of another ethno-linguistic Filipino, whatever, Filipino tribe, whatever like that, I can't speak for you. The next one we have is a concept of puera buyag versus liwat. Now, this is an interesting one, okay? For the longest time, I didn't understand what buyag was. Buyag, buyag, buyag. When you have your titas and aunties saying that, right? But let's say that you are walking around in town, you have a kid, or you are walking around in town and people look at you, Filipinos love to judge. Okay, they're very judgmental people. And they love to judge, they love to look at you, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you act, just everything about you, and they start making these assumptions about you and think about these assumptions about you, which can be a bad thing, okay? Not all the time it's good. But we like to judge people, we're very judgy, and we're very picky. And because of that judgmental attitude, a lot of us also like to play the game of matchmaker. Like, especially females, they like to gossip and tell you in front of your face, oh, you look good with this person, you look good with that person, etc., right? It's a game of matchmaking or being a couple. And females in general love this whole puerabuyag thing where they'll tell you that, oh, you are so cute, or your child is so cute, don't you just want to eat you up? They'll be all in your face about your child or you or yourself being so cute and stuff like that. Ay, kagwapo, uy, kagwapo, or ay, kagwapa, they'll say things like that. And that's the time it's appropriate to say, for you as a person, it's appropriate for you to say, ay, pura buyag, pura buyag. Now, pura buyag has this concept of, oh, be gone, you, like, evil spirits, be gone, right? That's because, like, Visayan people are very superstitious. They like to blend in Catholicism. So they're religious and superstitious. They blend in a lot of Catholicism with local and indigenous beliefs. Very religious, very superstitious, okay? And because of that devout religiousness and superstitiousness, they have these blended beliefs of spirits, right? And they don't want the bad spirits to come and get you or come and get the child that you have that's really cute and good looking. And if these spirits, it's this is used to say things like, oh, I'm pura buyag, and so that in order for bad things like sicknesses and bad events to go away from the child or from yourself. Fuera has its origin from Spanish, and this is why I have to I can't stress enough that you need to have a really good understanding of Spanish, okay? Because again, the Spanish language has just been in our culture ingrained for over 300 years, and these two are just kind of inseparable. But anyway, fuera comes from fuera, which means outside or away. Okay, afuera or fuera, like it comes from that Spanish word meaning outside or away. And when it got borrowed into the Cebuano language, the phonology of the F, because it doesn't exist in Cebuano, changed to a p, because it's a more closer phoneme to what we have in the Cebuano language as inventory of consonants. So puera buyag. Leewat, on the other hand, I get this a lot from my aunties. Liwat just means that, like, if someone says liwat sa imong mama, sa imong tatay, sa imong papa, liwat sa blah blah blah, right? Liwat just means like your characteristics of a person, the characteristics of a person that was inherited or passed down from your parents or relatives, something like that, right? Liwat, it means like you took on or you took akin to the characteristics that you have as a person from your parents or relatives, etc., right? Leewat. And that's why these characteristics, let's say that I put it out here with buyag, because these characteristics can be good things that people would be like, oy, kagwapo sa imo nga, and they'll have all of these compliments on you. Okay, so that's just a weird concept that we have about buyag, buyag, right? Like the evil spirits be gone. Okay. I don't know what else to say, but yes, Filipinos, if you haven't met them, they are religious, they are superstitious, but the Filipino that's talking about this video and is narrating this video is not. So the next one we have here is Filipino time, okay? I want to talk about Filipino time. There's this concept that people say that Filipinos are always late to meetings, to parties, to anything whatsoever like that, right? It's true because it's a stereotype, it's true. But I don't think it should be called Filipino time, because other cultures, if you take a look at the world, other cultures have this. And it's interesting to see that, people generally, I would say Filipino time people are just like late, they like to say they're on Filipino time. I wouldn't even say the word Filipino time. I would just say, oh, they're just gonna arrive late. You know how Filipino culture is. So it's because of that it can be a bad thing. Like it can show that you are not punctual to a commitment. It could be a bad thing, and that's just a cultural aspect, right? Because every culture has their ups and downs. Filipino culture does have its ups and downs too. This can be identified as a down, especially when you need to be somewhere on time, and it shows punctuality. And the concept I put here about sobremesa, sobremesa meaning, uh, I can't really figure out if there's a Cebuano word for this. So if you speak Cebuano and you know that there's a word for this concept, please let me know or write it down in the comments. I would like to know what your thoughts are. Sobremesa is actually a Spanish word, meaning it's a concept where after you have a meal at the table with a family or with friends or with a group of people, you're still standing there even though the meal is finished. You're still not standing, you're still sitting there after the meal is finished, and you're still talking, and you're still having a great time. Maybe you're having another glass of vino or wine or something like that, or maybe you're having a little snack or something or dessert, and you're still there for hours on end at the table, and you are just having a great time. You're still talking and talking with your friends, family, a group of people. Like, that's what's called sobremesa. Okay, it could be at a restaurant, it could be at your house, it can be anywhere. And sobremesa can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Again, it just depends, right? But Filipinos do this a lot. They like to sit at a table and just talk. Like, they just like to talk about life, because again, Visayan people, specifically us Cebuano language speakers, we're very touchy lovey people. We're very close, we'll get in your face kind of people. We want to get to know who you are, and because of that whole closeness, that whole kind of closeness that we build bonds with people, the concept of sobremesa stays alive. We're just like, we want to just live. We just want to live. We just want to live just to have a good time. And that's just a cultural thing that people need to understand. Again, going back to the mannerisms and stuff like that. I can't speak for all Filipinos, but I know Cebuano Visayan speakers, we are like that. We're very lovey. We're very comfortable with each other, and we get comfortable really easily with each other. Okay, which can also be a bad thing or a good thing. It just depends on the situation. So that's just another cultural concept to understand about sobremesa, which to me personally, with my experiences with sobremesas has been really good. Sometimes though it can be really bad from what I've experienced, because if you're at a restaurant, especially in Western culture, they expect you to leave. So, but again, it just depends. But that's one thing with sobremesa that you gotta understand. And then the last one I have are siestas, meriendas, and fiestas, right? Again, our Hispanic identity, the Hispanic influence is so alive when we speak our culture, our language. And I cannot stress enough, like the Hispanic, even the sobremesa, that's a Hispanic concept. Like, because people in Spain do it, other Latin Americans, they even do it too. We do it, Filipinos. But this whole concept of like siestas, meriendas, fiestas, like all these Hispanic influences that just came from Spain, okay? These concepts that came in to the Philippines, or I should say the archipelago at that time, the colony, is so embedded. It's so ingrained in our psychology, in our psyche, in our everyday behavior. So siestas, I love siestas. They are your midday. If you've been to Spain, you know what a siesta is, okay? Especially when you go out in the midday, maybe like after lunch and before evening time, most of the restaurants and shops are closed for siestas. All right, we have this in the Philippines, but I'm not sure about the shops being closed. I know that my grandmother on my dad's side, she takes siestas, and because of her, when I used to live with her, I took siestas. I took a lot of siestas, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. The naps you get during the middle of the day after lunch, it was great. When you wake up, it's merienda time. Merienda is actually meaning like a little snack that you get afterwards. It's a little um it's a little not heavy meal, but it's just like a little snack meal. Or I guess some of the Cebuano speakers refer to it also as timo, but merienda is a very light. It can range from something very sweet to something just anything small. Finger foods can be a merienda. The street foods that are not so heavy can be a merienda, a concept of merienda, right? Usually, like the merienda I really can think about when I was growing up back in the Philippines, and even today, like the meriendas I have today would be something like steamed or boiled taro root, or that boiled taro root with sugar, and it's just, you can just dunk it in sugar and it tastes so good. And sometimes if we don't have that, we'll have taho, which is a mixture of taho is a mixture of soft tofu, tapioca, cassava. Sometimes it's in this really sweet dark sauce, a sweet dark syrup, and it's so good. It's sold in the mornings, and it's sold warm. It's sold warm, and what I don't like to eat it warm, so what I do is I put it in the fridge and then have it for merienda later, which my grandmother does as well. That or sometimes for merienda we'll have the leftover pandesal from the morning from our morning coffee, and then we'll just have our merienda in our long table, and again we'll have the concept of sobremesa, and then before you know it, it's already dinner time. So you're eating, and then you talk, and you're eating again. You're just having a really good time. And last but not least are the fiestas. Now, I gotta say the fiestas are a little different because me going especially it's a little different going from one ethno-linguistic culture to another ethno-linguistic culture in the Philippines. And that leads me to this last one here. Fiestas, from my experience, include, especially typical Filipino fiestas, will include singing, dancing, a lot of food, a lot of talking, a lot of drama, a lot of gossip, a lot of games, little kids running around, just having a good time. However, there are slight variations that I've noticed, especially when I go to Filipino parties that are Tagalogs, especially with Tagalog Filipino parties. And if I go to Filipino parties that are Ilocano Filipino parties, Tagalog Filipino parties, the Bisaya Filipino parties, I tend to see like some regional like differences in with these Filipino parties. The concept is still the same, but there are differences with the psychology of some of these people. And because of that, like again, it goes back to what I said, when you speak a language, that culture of that language comes to life. So for example, a Tagalog culture, if I were to go to a Tagalog fiesta or Tagalog party where a lot of people just spoke Tagalog, their own culture is fine-tuned to that Tagalog culture. And the same thing can be said with the Ilocanos and the Visayas and what have you, with the Cuyonons, etc., right? With the Muslims, the Muslim parties that I go to who are Filipinos down in the south, the Tausug parties, the Sambuangueño parties, and the Chapacanos and how they party. There are variations to this. My personal experience, and I'm talking from my own experience, is that like I enjoy the Bisaya parties a lot more just because of the people are just more laid back, more open, and they're drama free. They don't involve people's dramas, people's lives. They don't involve a lot of gossip or anything like that. It's just you being in that party, having a good time, immersing yourself in people's lives, and just you're living to live. You don't live to hold up an expectation or hold up some sort of what's that word called? I guess like, yeah, I guess an expectation or some sort of what people expect highly of you. You're just you being yourself, right? With the Tagalog parties, I've noticed a lot that you gotta be of a good social class sometimes. You have to be a little fake to people, and I kind of don't like that. So and this is just my experience again. So if you have something to say about it, I can't really help you there because this is my experience. And it's been, again, my experience have also varied when I went to Bicolano parties, when I went to, Ilocano parties, stuff like that, right? But that's just something like with Tagalog culture, there's just a little bit more that you have to uphold yourself with. And sometimes they're not so chill and laid back. Sometimes they're just so in a get go kind of thing. And I'm assuming it's because of that Manila culture, probably, like maybe that city life culture. But I could be wrong, especially since I'm coming from a city that's very laid back and relaxed and just really slow, just take things as it comes versus people coming from the Manila side, the more metro side. They're more kind of like, oh, get go, yeah, we can enjoy, have a good time, laugh here, laugh there, joke here, joke there, but there's an underlying tone behind that. Well, anyway, this is just a little bit of me dabbling, and that's something I just wanted to get to say, and this video is running long, but it's a culture note video that really kind of inspired me.